Of the head of the Catholic Church, and Professor Itumeleng Mothoagae from the University of South Africa joins me. Prof, good morning. Thank you so much for your time. Again, condolences to all who are mourning this moment, the loss of Pope Francis. And I want to talk a little bit more about his legacy and contribution. And let's start with why he chose to be named after Francis of Assisi. There's an interesting anecdote that's shared that when it became clear that he was going to be elected Pope, Cardinal Bergoglio's friend, and that was his name, of course, he's then taken on the name of St. Francis, Cardinal Claudio Hummes whispered to him and said, "Don't forget the poor." And it is that moment that is credited with inspiring the Pope to take on the name Francis, to reflect the saint who lived in poverty and, really committed his life to the marginalized. Let's use that as a starting point. Again, good morning.
Yes, thank you so much, Iman, and good morning to your listeners. Yeah, I think the motto of the Pope, actually, the church that is the Church of the Poor, is a motto that informed his entire pontificate as a Pope, and we also see it in his embracing of the poor and the marginalized, and the marginalized are varied, Iman. It's not only the sufferers of war and the migrants and so on, but also the marginalized are also people that are in prisons, that are regarded as criminals, and therefore society has marginalized them to those spaces. And so throughout his pontificate, one of the key things for him was about the issue of the poor, but also about the environment, that the two go together. And he said the church needs to move away from being the church of exclusivism, but to a church that embraces, everyone that professes to be the follower of Christ. And also, one of the things that I picked up in his entire pontificate is his humility. And his humility, you can look at the manner in which he put on his cassock. It did not even have any sign of the Vatican sign, which you will always see amongst popes, including the red shoes. He just wore the normal shoes that any person wore, the type of car he was driven in, and also his love to be amongst the people. I think that to me is the epicenter of what his pontificate was all about, was moving away the church from the center to the margin.
That's such an important point that you make, because that margin is represented by other faiths. That margin is represented by minority groups. That margin is also represented by the amount of volume that ordinary bishops across the world and on the ground could bring to the direction that the Vatican, that the Church, that the Catholic Church is going in. I mean, what strikes me is, the one piece around advocating for decentralizing authority in the Church, to give local bishops' conferences more say in what was happening at a pastoral level, encouraging a more synodal church, one that involves the clergy, the bishops, and the laity, very importantly, in that decision-making process.
Yes, and this has got an influence because it comes from Argentina. And if you look at the church in Argentina, is a church that is led by the lay people. And one of the things that he fought against was the idea of clericalism. Because I'm a cleric and therefore I know it all, but therefore you must revere me, and so on. And his encouragement of the bishops to be pastoral, to be involved more in their dioceses, other than just sitting in their offices and be running the church from their offices, but to be involved more and to really engage on issues that affect an ordinary Catholic who struggles with a whole lot of things. And his statement that was actually misrepresented and misinterpreted was a very key statement that says if person who identifies as LGBTIQ a person and accepts Christ, who am I to judge? That, to me, is a very important statement about the people that are in the margin.
Yeah.
That those are the people that the church has got no authority, in a way, to put aspersions, if one can put it that way, or to judge those people, because the fundamental thing for him was their acceptance of Christ, their embracement of Christ, their belief in Christ. For him, that is the measurement to which he says, who am I then to judge, to say, you don't deserve this?
I think also what stands out, and maybe during the course of the day with some of our other guests, we'll talk about reform in the Catholic Church, in reforming the Roman Curia, which is the Vatican's administrative body, to make it more transparent and accessible. Also wanting to throw open and shed a light on the Roman Catholic Church's finances and having transparency there. So really a lot that he had done to shift the needle on those issues. But I want to end with the fact that he was visible in one of his last appearances yesterday, Easter Sunday. He didn't preside over the Easter Mass. That was led by another cardinal, but he did deliver the traditional Urbi et Orbi. It's a blessing from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. And again, this morning, Catholics around the world waking up to this news and no doubt in mourning at his passing after that illness.